Hello, friends. Now I'm back. Hopefully, I plan to do this for every Thursday, weekly. And now we are at the week four or fourth week of this journey. I have done some of my homework, like that now we can see the different target already working only for console for now. And of course, I'll let you know if I have ways to make it work for Windows Forms, WBF, and others. And hopefully, as we are going through this journey, we are focusing on the tooling first because it should, yeah, some of you told me that, yeah, I should start from the language first, but language is only small part of the .NET SDK itself. So I still hope that you can keep up with me as I'm focusing on the tooling, because as we have seen before or last week, that I have displayed all of the templates available, and that templates depends on, of course, on each of the release of the .NET SDK itself. Like if you have a 5.0 compared to 8.0, you have more and more templates available on each of the release, especially the later release or the newer release, of course. And let me see if I could put this. This is the fourth week. And about me, next to me is my wife. She's always with me and always accompanies me when I was speaking, and if I get some meetup with other developer communities. And this is my GitHub. If you follow my previous speaking or talks, I usually put my other fact of me that I'm part of the Microsoft MVP, but since I'm not the Microsoft MVP anymore, I'm not making notes on that one. It's just that I think just to let you know that I was an MVP before for about 10 years. So don't know why. Maybe I will join MVP again, but to me, I just enjoying myself, contributing back to the communities. So this is the plan so far. We have done the point one, and the point two is more than one part, core technologies. And fortunately, I haven't been answered this one. It's just last week I only has answer for the console template, given you some overview about the application target, meaning that you can target the desktop, web, and also other kinds of technology such as mobile if you target your apps to run on as part of on top of the .NET MAUI. So again, we are now getting more and more, not just deeper, but also becoming more specific on knowing more of the tooling itself. It's not like, yeah, you just directly code. No, you have to know the tooling first, because the tooling, the one that I've shown you before in the previous weeks, that you do the .NET new and many things, you will have the tooling as part of your initial development activities, I'm afraid. Maybe if some of you are asking me, I already have Visual Studio, why do I have to use, command prompt or even like VS Code, for example? But .NET Core in the beginning has roadmap to be cross-platform at first. This is why you will not see the migrated Winforms and WPF in the initial release of the .NET Core. And as we have known, since .NET 5.0, we don't have the prefix core anymore, and I will use .NET. And I'll try to separate things with the previous or the legacy .NET framework, and I will say .NET framework for the .NET framework. I will say .NET for the .NET Core. Again, .NET Core is now .NET. So let's try to start with that kind of semantics and context. And then I'll try to move from this week to next week and why choices of language, app target, and technologies are important. And unfortunately, we have to face the fact that it is not easy to separate that. So you may wonder, then .NET is sucks and I better to use .NET framework. But I'll show you, we already have that kind of restriction actually from the .NET framework. Uh, yeah, I will show you in later in the demo. So next one for this, I have to make it as episode 4. So what is .NET and application target and template? So we have already seen TFM and TFM with the operating system and the operating system version specific in action. Now we are going to somehow not just seeing them in action, but also why do I have to care about the templates? So let's start it. Yeah, we have seen that the core technologies is always like this one. Maybe in the future version there will be more, but right now we have this in a simplest overview. We already discussed this. So Winforms, WPF, those two is only for desktop and it only runs on Windows. ASP.NET can run on Windows and any other architecture as long as not just it is supported by the .NET CLR itself, but also as long as there is a way to for ASP.NET to run on a basic environment that contains all of the libraries that can be hosted by the runtime host. So I believe this is why you will not be able to run ASP.NET only on a very very small devices like maybe Arduino or Raspberry Pi 2 or later, because those DLLs are too many and it's hard to fit for under that kind of form factor. Why do I mention this? Because if we go to the original landing page of the .NET Core, you'll see that not just you create apps for desktop, games, web, but also you can create app for the IoT devices. But I'm not going to discuss IoT devices right now, unfortunately, because I am more focusing on the web and the desktop. And later, if I have some time and if I have some experience, I will bring you how to start to develop or to have MAUI for your choice if you, let's say, want to develop for Android, not just Windows or macOS or even the iPhone, the iOS thing. So then let's move on to, we already have this introduction. So basically, this week is still discussing TFM, but with the other things like I mentioned before, the templates and target and many things. So this is the like try to recap on last week. We all see that TFM is becoming more and more specific. This is wrong. So .NET 8.0 Windows 10.0 needs exact version, unfortunately. So yeah, I will try to update this slide after this video. And the next one, I mentioned about the templates. So this is the display when you do this command .NET new list on .NET 8.0 SDK. So you will have .NET Aspire, MAUI, ASP.NET Core, of course, and Blazor Server, Blazor Web App, Blazor wasm and console. Of course, we should have directly always have console template and class library. We have a Winforms, WPF, and many things. But you'll see that on some template there are with the square bracket things. Square bracket that says C sharp, comma VB. Sometimes on this template worker is C sharp, comma F sharp, meaning that if you are not specifying the language when you create .NET New, by default you are going to use C sharp. Otherwise, you can specify the language for your development time or development language. Unfortunately, not all of those three are available on each template. You may wonder, so if I want to use F sharp, I could not create Windows Form apps? That for me is a little bit worrying because, yeah, of course, F sharp doesn't have a designer support like when you are opening WinForms in Visual Studio, not in the VS Code, of course, but you can still code WinForms or WPF in F sharp actually. I already discussed this on my current blog. I was focusing more on F sharp on that blog, and still now. And you'll see that this doesn't say anything about the OS, but you have to be careful that you can only develop WinForms and WPF only on Windows. You cannot do this on other operating system. There was, I think, some feedback that these templates should only not just display this, but then there are other parties that have given feedback. We should have a somehow intelligent clue that these templates should only can be used or can be we can have only this template only if you are running on or if you are targeting Windows or other kinds of OS, for example. But then that will bring a little bit more confusion because as we see, we have a MAUI. MAUI can target like this one, Android, iOS, macOS, Mac Catalyst, Windows. Even now we can have Tizen, the Samsung Tizen, and also other things. And I don't know why they have mobile. Is there any difference from this Android, iOS with mobile? Yeah, we should find out. But again, why only on this template MAUI you can have a clue on the OS, but why on others you don't have it? Hopefully, Microsoft should fix these things in the next release. I'm afraid that you cannot have that on this 9.0 release, especially that right now at the time when I create this video on Wednesday night, you cannot have this kind of convenience on 9.0 for now. And there is no consensus or definite decision that Microsoft will add the OS listed as the one that is easy to see, like this one here, because that will also bring some how to reason about that. Like we have web web can run on Windows. This web can also run on Linux, but the common practice is your ASP.NET will only run cross-platform because there is also not just easier to maintain if you want to move between OS. Let's say if you want to deploy your web app on Azure or AWS, usually when you are deploying your ASP.NET app on any kinds of let's say if you want to deploy to Azure, then you are using app service for Windows. it will be more expensive than if you are deploying that SPNet core on Linux, or put it in a specific way, or let's just make it that you are going to use Ubuntu, for example, or any other OS, because this is again, at one time you have a assumption that ASP.NET should be, cross-platform, because there is no desktop technologies involvement when you are displaying your web page, right? That visualization is left for the browser, not for your code that runs on backend that generate those pages. Uh, those pages is actually can be also served by other technologies or other platform. Let's say that you can have Angular. So this is usually more popular if you want to have some kind of way to develop your web on the front end side. Either you can have MVC or SPA, single page application. But again, I'm not going to discuss this SP.NET or this web development for now. Uh, we are going to make this as a cool segue or a good segue, and I'll try to explain to you that this choice of a target and language is again somehow unrelated, but it is very very important. As you can see that almost all of the template we have is having support for C#. Only very few templates has support for F#, and the fewer templates unfortunately have support for VB. Okay, now let's have a quick demo. You see that I'm having this previous repo. Okay, I'm going to make some adjustment first, because this hello.net console is not supposed to be in the root of the repo, unfortunately. It is supposed within the source. But then I'm afraid that this will, you know, break the existing path. So for this kind of work, like moving the SLN into the source, I'll just use the .NET solution to remove it first, and then copy the solution file, then add back those CS parts. So hopefully this should not take more than 10 minutes. Okay, I'll just run SLN. Let's see what are the options I have. We have again add, list, and remove. I'll use remove because I'm going to remove those two projects. So okay, I will use remove the hello remove, and let's remove the first CS part of hello.net console. Hopefully this is correct. Okay. Sorry, it seems like I have some problem with. I don't know. It's look like a very small and okay. No, because this is the nice thing about having video recording. So next one is the uh, removing the second one, source, sample this. Yep, has been removed. Let's see. Now I'm going to try to, can we use MV? Move. Hmm. Okay. Uh, well, there should be something like move. Make dear move. Oh yeah, move. Oh, this one to solve. Is it okay? Let's check the source. There you are. Okay, we have successfully moved solution to on source. Now let's add back those two projects. And of course, I'm going to use the same command of .NET SLN with different parameters. Run solution add. I have to supply the name first. Name of the solution. Use option add. And let's add back these hello. And then add the sample Winforms too. Now that I have do the removal and the re-adding those two, let's try to open this inside Visual Studio. Okay, just select repository here. I should be able to open. Okay, everything is good. And okay, I will hide this first. We should have no errors because the solution and the CS approach is separated. Yeah, solution can have the CS approach, but the CS approach can have its own separation and also environment. No, okay, I haven't committed to the repo yet because there are some changes last week. As we see that again, I have to update those slides because if I have or if I want to use Windows 10, I have to specify with the full version of Windows 10. There is no multiple version of Windows 7, which is why we can have only one. Okay, now we are good. So let's go back to the command prompt. Um, .NET new list. Yeah, let's try to see that ease of the template, especially when it is related to new project. Because if you run the .NET new command, you will have not just this project that you are going to create, but also individual project item or solution item available to you as well. Like you can have the git ignore, you can have the global JSON, you can also have the editor config if you open inside Visual Studio Code and also inside Visual Studio, and also other things like these build props and targets. I will discuss this later on the future videos. And nice thing is in I think this is since .NET 7.0. I may be wrong, but we have the Playwright. Playwright is the UI test framework from Microsoft, and it is cross-platform, if I'm not mistaken. But it is all usually used by not by. If you want to test ASP.NET app, you can use Playwright. You can also have Playwright to run on Winforms, but um, fortunately, it is easy to write the code to start using Playwright. But as far as I know, there are very you know many samples of on testing for ASP.NET on the web, but there are some say that it's most focusing on desktop. Honestly, I haven't played much with Playwright, but yeah, I will try to uh, have this more samples on the next weeks. Not this month, I'm afraid. So that we have the, of course, the solution. So solution is a sample of you can create a new item or file, not the project. So we have a .NET SLN, not just SLN. You can also have solution. So SLN is an alias for the .NET solution. Then you can have or create web config and so on. So again, you'll see that many, or you can say almost all of the templates has C# support. Some of them only support C#. Some of them can have more than two languages, like we have here MS Test. MS Test, we can use it to create a unit test project using MS Test platform, using C#, F#, VB. You'll see that on ASP.NET only C# and F#. Unfortunately, there is no VB, and yeah, this is a good thing that console we could still have a Visual Basic support. The next one is the WPF, and this is misleading. We know that there is no Visual Designer support. If you create new WinForms app using this .NET WinForms, you will have template that only contains the form.cs with the uh, designer, what is the term for that? This the form.source.cs, something like that, that provides the initialization of that WinForms. WPF also have that, but they have different architecture. So for WPF, you'll have not just the CS but also the SAML, the SAML file. The oh yeah, I remember now. The solution or the logic, not the solution, the logic for the WPF and the WinForms. They have some kind of, let's say, the code that back that visual. Usually, it is called code behind, like we have in the ASP.NET Framework era. You know, the code behind. If you double click the design screen of that ASP.NET Framework, you will go to the CS file that has the code that handles those event handling and many things. The logic for that page in here is basically the same, but WF has a different architecture. The next one is there are other kinds of templates like the unit test. We have support for MS test, support for X unit. By default, we have two unit test platform supports. But again, if you if you are coming from the N unit world, you can have that N unit, and I think you can have that N unit as part of the template. But unfortunately, N unit template is not part of the .NET SDK templates that you'll see here. So unfortunately, again, yeah, you cannot have many things. But there is a way to install third-party templates and make it as part of your .NET SDK templates. I will tell you later or discuss that on next video. So yeah, let's go back to Visual Studio. So we have here is Winforms. See, this is what I'm trying to say. If we double click this form here, it will show the designer or the visual designer of this form. It will take some time, and you can either double click here or right click and go to the code or view code. This is the code behind of that form, and there is a designer.cs is the form that I mentioned before that contains all of the initialization. We should not modify this. It's always again will be overridden by Visual Studio when it tries to compile. So we have here hello Winforms. Now we can see that we have to pay attention on the operating system, not just what are we are trying to do. Are you targeting desktop or web or whatever? But we have to pay attention on the operating system. If you do ASP.NET Core, of course, you can assume that I don't have to pay attention on the underlying specific operating system, because if you create any with any of these template, you can ensure that it will run on Linux. Hopefully, on the next 2 or 3 weeks after this, I will demo to you that with the same code, I can run on both Windows and Linux as long as I don't have the TFM with the specific operating system. So let's see if I could new ASP, oh sorry, web app. There should be web app, or I could just use MVC, web MVC, oh, web app. Let's look further what option do I have here. Many. By default, you can just create a web app with no specific authentication. Like if you are not specifying the AU, you'll have a no authentication. But if you specify with the parameter of single org or individual B2C, then your code will have basic initialization configuration if you want to use Azure AD, which is right now it is called Azure Entra ID. And yeah, there is no support for other cloud provider, I'm afraid, right now. And you'll see that you can specify the instance of the Azure ID and the domain tenant ID of that Azure tenant ID. This tenant ID is not tenant ID for other kinds of cloud provider. It's only specific for Azure tenant ID, I'm afraid. Yeah, so I'm afraid that you cannot overcome that. And then the choice of the framework. Nice thing about this is it can still support go back to the Netcore app 3.1. But I strongly advise you, you should not create a new project using .NET SDK to target the older version of .NET Core that is not supported anymore. So let's just focus on creating .NET 8.0 because the .NET 7 is not supported. Again, we should, yeah, I'm afraid we should make a note about this. Or maybe we should, or we could make a feedback to Microsoft that this .NET 8.0 should not support at least uh, 5.0 and the older releases, because to me it's not relevant anymore, right? Okay, we can try to create new web is it web app or web web app web app. Give it name. The name is the sample, or I should not use space. Let's just look for other. Is there a way to specify the path? I should be able to. Okay, this is, yeah, the path. So sample ASP, or I could just use the output of the path directly with the name embedded. I haven't tried this one, but let's try. Oh, I could not. Just use mouse. Um, okay, I should put this output, not the name of the CS branch. Yeah, location to place. Okay, this is the path. I think I just use safest option for now. Sample is ASP.NET Core mix 0. I'll use the authentication as none. And if you want to, I could use the minimum API by default, but for this and this time I'll just use ease programming to ease the feeling of moving from the previous version. Okay, hopefully this is correct. Ah, not correct. Why this export is located on that? Okay. Okay, I think I will delete this one. Delete this was delete. Delete the OBG. So forgot the name. And delete the program. delete the property folder, delete the triple W root, and then delete the CS branch. It should create the folder. Maybe, okay. Looks like I'm wrong to assume that. Go back to source. .NET new web app with the name of call. So I have to specify the full. Oh, I was going to paste what looks like the latest one is that sample SP of X0. I should make the same name X0. Ah, this should be a sample web app, and you have the correct folder. Hopefully this is correct now. C source is sample is okay. We have the correct one. And let's add this guy to the solution. The recommended way we should close the solution on this one. And add the source. Oh no, I have to specify the name first. Source, hello, console, and add sample. Oh, of course with the source too. There you are. It is added. Let's close this. We should be able to look at the solution explorer, but since I closed this, I have to go to other repo first and go back to here. It's not. There you are. You see, we have a cross-platform. Oh, I forgot to use main. Well, now I'm using minimum API we have here. Yeah, use HTTPS. This and this. But since I'm also using MVC, so I'm now having Razor by default. See, this is HTML. This is Razor. If I run this one, set a startup. Yeah, I'll try to use HTTPS. For now, it will compile this. Would you like to trust? Yes. Just yeah, yes. And we should have browser. Since my default browser is this is the last one I'm using Firefox on Visual Studio. Not now. Now we have here home privacy. We have a localhost with port 7075. This is the default port if you are creating from the .NET New Web App. We have here .NET 8.0, the Razor default web app MVC. And the sad fact is, if you right click here, there is an option to add Docker or something. Let me see why I could not. Oh, since okay, I understand now. Since I'm creating this from command prompt, I don't have the Docker file. But usually, if you create a new project, new ASP.NET project from Visual Studio, you will have Docker file in here. Right now, you don't have it by default. Um, add, is there a way to? Oh, you have Docker support here. Cool. Okay, and you will also have support for app inside and so on and so on. But then again, this is for Visual Studio only, not available on Visual Studio Code. Maybe in the future it will be available on Visual Studio Code, but there is another discussion. Okay, now this proves that ASP.NET Core by default is always targeted as cross-platform. And Winforms is always using Windows that we have here. So we have Windows with the specific version like we have now. Again, this NET 8.0, if I'm not mistaken, it should not support Windows 7, but why the original documentation mentioned that it support Windows 7 by default? Maybe I'll try to create a new VM on this machine and try to check is it available or not. Let's say on in terms of the .NET SDK, we should not support Windows 7, but I may be mistaken. So let's go back to the landing page. See on the download here and go for the all.NET 8.0 downloads. Let's see. Is there a way to check which version on Windows that? Okay. If I go, why it doesn't say the version requirement for Windows? Release notes. Okay, looks like I have to go to the documentation and look for the .NET SDK. What's new? What's new? .NET SDK. What's new in SDK and tooling? Is there any broken changes information? Not available. So what's new? SDK. CLI base. I mean, I really want to get information on the requirement of this SDK. Why I couldn't have that? Windows ARM. Oh, this is directly the installer link. Visit the download page. Download page. Oh, we go back to the old one. Other. Okay. This is a little bit sucks. Okay. Product documentation. Let's try to search on other tabs. What's new in this one? Okay. Is there any way to look for the requirement? No. Let's just focus on the documentation first. On the rest, breaking change. Or we could check on the GitHub repo of that SDK. Hopefully we have answers from there. Hopefully. Okay, there is no wiki. There should be docs or something, no? Um, Let us build. How do I build? I must build. Okay, we have a documentation here. Uh, Looks like I'm looking at the wrong repo. Core facility core projects. Okay, let's go to the .t. Wrong. Uh, .NET CLI. Maybe here. Let us build table. Why I could not see it? Host FX resolver. This is a little bit nonsense to me. They should have some kind of way to explain the prerequisite or requirement of the installer. There is another repo. Okay, I'll try to search for another 3 to 5 minutes. If I could not find it, then I will explain it on the next week's video. Okay, installing the SDK. Installing the SDK. Okay, .NET/installer is now archived. Since what? Okay, let's try to look at the X03XX thing. We still have the README FM installer from source. Okay, then I'm starting to give up. Okay, let's try to go back to the slide and click from there. There should be a clue of supported operating system. There is no TFM for Linux. Okay. Runtime ID. You have a very nice explanation of why you still have to specify the use Winforms or use WPF. Yeah, because TFM alone is not specific enough. Are you using both Windows Form and WPF or just one? They naturally compose. Yes, we can have both of these two. Use Winforms and use WPF. Yeah. And we don't have the OS here. Or greater defines. We should have it. We should have it. Or try to look at the documentation of the TFM itself. .NET standard, .NET 8 TFMs. No, standard is not deprecated. Of course, it is not deprecated. So, oh, now we have nice. This is for the metrics for net standard and net framework compatibility. So, only discuss the net standard. Migrate from this one to this one. Documentation with the service installed on Debian. Hmm, strange. Or maybe I should just use uh, TFM maybe? TFM. Target frameworks in SDK style project. Should be this one. There you are. Here we have a default TPV. Oh my god. By default it use okay. Support for OS platform specific. There should be something that says that supported OS or something. This is the design. This is the installer. This is not what I'm going to search. Uh, Scripts, general. Okay, let's see. Supported OS. Roll forward. Okay, not in this one. What about this one? Supported OS is in the .NET Core. Let's see. Let's see. Aha, there is no Windows 7. Okay, let's play some testing or experiment. Okay, I'm going to delete this net 66.0 and I will add for net. I wish to support this one. See, can I still compile it? Assets. So this means okay, documentation is incorrect. I'm afraid. Yeah. Okay, still incorrect. If I change this to 60 or even 7, but I don't have 7. Okay, let's just use 660 for now. It will compile successfully, I think. Yep, it works. It compile successfully for Windows 7. Oh boy. Okay. So okay, I have to have some break. Right now, let's continue and just to prove to you that yes, we cannot have a template for F sub. Let's say if you want to create Winforms or WPF, like we have here. Hang on, there should be some ways to filter sh list. Mm, new list author. Yeah, .NET new list dash line. I will use, let's say I want to only list all that support F sharp. There you are. Yeah, we cannot have Winforms and WPF. We could still have it as long as you are targeting on Windows, of course. There's a way to do that, and I'll show you that on my blog. That blog describes running FSUP to have WPF on Winforms, but you can still have it on FSUP using console as the template. So let's go to the old one. Static virtual members. Yeah, I I'm discussing F sharp in detail. Quick dive task computation expression. There you are. You can create the project using console, of course. So now I can use console like this one and use F sharp because again, if I'm not specifying the dash length, it will use C sharp by default. So I'm going to use F sharp for this one. .NET new console dash and let's see using F sharp and we are using path source dash same name this one this guy. Don't forget to again specify the length. I'm going to use F sharp here. Yep, we now have this and let's add this into our solution. No, I have to specify the solution first. Source and source sample Winforms using F sharp. Let's go back to Visual Studio and reload this. We now have console using F sharp. And we have to modify the CS procs to tell the MS build and also the compiler that we are going to target this to support Winforms. Again, I have to change this to Windows first. And let's see, let's go back to my blog here. And well, we have to specify to use the WPF or Winforms. You can just copy this, or I could. Well, the best is we should try to use the intelligence within this aspect. Okay, let's try to do it. Use Windows Form. Use Windows Forms. True. There you are. I don't know why. Use Windows Form is true. We have here output type. Why is that load failed? Element text within element property group is not recognized. How come? Use Windows Form. Oh, I have typo here. Let's try to reload it. Should be good. And just copy the code from my blog. Not this one. Oh, this one. Program.fs. Just copy this guy. Where is copy? And replace the content here. Or maybe I just replace here. And if you follow my previous video, all of the code that target WinForms, you should specify the SDA thread because this is for the common threading model for both WBF and WinForms. And for a sub, you have the entry point here to tell the compiler that this main is the entry point or the static void main method in the C sharp. This is the equal counterpart. And we have here, we don't have the designer support, but you can still run it as WinForms. I have to add a small modification here. I'm going to use output type is WinExe, and let's try to run this. So let's start a project. It will take some time, I think. There you are. Run on Windows 10. There you have WinForms using F as the programming language. So this already proved my point that there is a relation. You have TFM, you have TFM with OS, TFM OS with the version specific, but for now, you can ignore the version specific as long as your app doesn't need to do anything fancy. And of course, you have to pay attention on the language that you want to choose. If you use F sharp, you cannot have a designer support. If you use C sharp, like we have here on the previous week, you will have designer support like this one. And this also valid for VB because you'll see here that, okay, let's try to uh, run this using filter as VB. And is VB, you'll see WPF and Winforms, both of them has VB support like we have here. This will also have designer support as well. That's it. This is the discussion for now. And if you target your other than C VB to support WinForms like I have here, you'll see that I have to use WinExe instead of EXE because if I use the original WinExe, it will show a console than the WinForms. Let's try this one. Okay, maybe it's better to compile it first. Check for any errors. No, and run it. You see, there is a console showing first, and then the WinForms. This is why you have to run it as WinExe. This is a good sample of there is a concept like runtime host. If you choose output type as exe, most of the time you'll have console first. But if you choose to output type as WinExe, you will have a directly, the behavior of running the WinForms project. There is no console at all. There you are. You have WinForms using FSharp. It is doable and it is quite easy. You can find the code on my blog here. And also, if you want to, you can just clone my repo under my name /netcore -f# -sample. I know it's very long time. It's not yet been updated. I think if you want to, you can just replace this net 5.0 Windows with net 8.0 Windows. It will work fine. I already show it to you right here. So don't worry. You just clone my repo. Of course, I will update this tomorrow. Yeah. Now let's go back to the slide. Again, we last week we discussed why there is no TFM for Linux. This is making sense. Like as far as we know, those WPF and WinForms only specific features for Windows, and Windows is usually from one company in the sense that there is no distro or different flavor of Windows. You have many flavors of Linux, but there is no different or many flavor of Windows. You just call it Windows. Only you are dealing with the older versions and then the later version and then the newest version. But at the same time, your choice is somehow maybe limited. But of course, it goes back to the .NET Framework condition and situation back then. You only runs on Windows. Of course, there is the MAUI here. You can run on Android, not just Windows, but also on macOS, on iOS. If you look further, let's go back to the slide here. There is no, okay, I will enlarge this. There is no Linux support as the OS. You can run GUI, right? Like using X Windows or maybe KDE or something. Honestly, I don't know what is the newest or the coolest one GUI layers on Linux right now. But as you can see, there is no Windows. Oh, sorry, there is no Linux GUI here. You just see MAUI, Android, iOS, macOS, um, Samsung Tyson here, and also mobile. Yeah, honestly, I don't know what is this mobile thing. We already have Android is for mobile, right? And also iOS is for mobile. Now I have explained to you that TFM with the OS, with the OS version specific, is closely related with the template that we have now. And with the sample that I just given you, you have C Sharp, F Sharp, VB. For those templates that have a designer support like C Sharp and VB, it is nicer to have that, and it is by default. You have that since the initial version of .NET Framework. But for F Sharp, you can still create the WinForms project and also the WPF project starting from the template of console as long as again you specify the TFM correctly. And if you want to target WinForms or use WinForms, just use WinForm true like we have here. For WPF, you can use WPF and set it to true. If you're not specifying it, the default value will be false. Can I have this? Okay. There is no tooltip for this one. Only, oh, we should have it. Why there is a tooltip for target framework but not use Winforms? We should have it. Okay, that hopefully can give all of us a way to understand that, yeah, TFM, TFM specific with the OS specific, version specific, and now you'll see that it's also relevant related to the language that we are going to have or we are going to choose in the beginning. Okay, if you like this video, please like, subscribe, and feel free to comment me. And also, I'm also available on LinkedIn. Feel free to message me or direct message me or add me. The next video will be on the next Thursday, hopefully before or about 6 to 7 p.m. Indonesian time. It will be online or it will be available there. Feel free to give me feedback. I'll see you next week. Bye bye.